My essay on assisted dying for this final assessment, I will analyze the difference in between euthanasia and assisted dying in Canada in 2016 and in Switzerland in 1940. The different cultures in different periods of time have many different laws towards the assisted dying methods and euthanasia, so I will be talking about both and the difference in between both cultures. So some people really enjoy life and it's great, everything's going great, they aren't suffering. But then there's the other one where people could be suffering of terminally ill diseases and there is no cure for it and they're just suffering and suffering and suffering. And most people just want to put an end to the suffering and an end to the people suffering around them. So assisted dying would be a solution to this. A lot of people are against it, but I believe that it's a good idea if people just rather not suffer because it will end their suffering and the suffering of people around them. For example, Linda was a Torontoanian who had ovarian cancer, stage 4, and she knew that in her generation she would never be able to change the law towards assisted dying in Canada, but she knew that if she fought and spoke up to what she thought was right, she knew that in the generations to come, so maybe her grandchildren would be able to use assisted dying as a method of dying if you are no longer able to live a full life. A lot of people think that this is unfair and everybody should live, and a lot of religious questions are asked about this and assisted dying. I believe that if you're going to be kept artificially kept alive, that there is no point in living if you're going to live a half life the rest of your life. If you aren't able or capable to be independent, compassionate, or autonomy, you don't really want to live anymore. And I believe that if you are going to suffer for the rest of your life, you should have the choice to die or stay alive. You should have the choice for when you die and how you die. If you die of natural causes, so of old age, cancer, you don't suffer of old age. You might suffer later on when you're in your 90s if you're in good health, but if you have cancer, you will suffer through so many things that you might just want to end your life and not make yourself suffer or the people around you who love you suffer more. I believe that dying with dignity is a very important thing in life. There is a website, www.dyingwithdignity.ca, which is a Canadian site for assisted dying. You can go check it out. It's great because we have just made the law, but we have pending decisions on what we will do and how we will do things. A lot of people want to be remembered for who they were and not how they died or how badly they died or what they died for. You want to be remembered for who you truly were. Assisted suicide, I believe, is not the right term to use. When you are suicidal or you committed suicide or tried to commit suicide, you are not mentally stable and you need a lot of help. Assisted dying, I find, is not that. When you want to die from assisted dying, you want to die because you're suffering and you know the people around you are suffering. So I believe that assisted suicide is not the correct term, and that's why I think that they should call it assisted dying. Assisted suicide, just hearing the word suicide, it's a very strong word that a lot of people might think, oh, assisted suicide, somebody's helping you, like, is committing suicide for you. That's not it. Assisted dying, you want to end your suffering. Euthanasia should not be used as a medical treatment. Assisted dying, on the other hand, could be, although they are very similar, they sound very similar, the differences are quite large. A lot of people think that since Switzerland was the first country to legalize assisted dying, that they should probably review the laws, but they have. And I think that it's a good idea, except for the fact that I find that it's very free and a lot of different people can use it. Physicians, even some physicians in Switzerland, are against assisted dying because they feel like it's not in their practice. That's completely fine if somebody isn't feeling comfortable doing it. I find that in today's world that the technology has evolved so much that we should have our choice to how to die. You need to have a good and strong excuse, not excuse, but a reason for wanting to die. You can't just go to the doctors one day and say, "Oh, I'd like to die," because then you aren't mentally stable and you're suicidal. Assisted dying is is not a bad thing. I find it's a really good idea. People who are against assisted dying are usually the people who think that now that assisted dying will be legal in Canada, that's the only way that you will be able to die. That's false. Assisted dying will just be a different way of dying, just like of age. You can die of age, you can die of overdose, I don't know, something like that. Assisted dying will just be a different way because in the end, we will all die. And some people just look at it, would you rather die or would you rather suffer and then die? I think most people would just pick dying. We all know that this goes against most religions, that if God placed you in this world this way, then you shouldn't be able to go on your own terms. But when you look at it, when people are premature, when babies are premature, they used all the technology possible to keep them alive. So why not use all the technology possible to end our suffering? You're not ending a life, you're ending somebody's suffering and pain, and they just don't want to live with it anymore. So in the end, the true question is, when it comes down to our death and to end our life, what will we choose when faced with our own mortality? What will be our decisions we make towards this? And do we think that this will take us to a different level of technology and thought within the world? Just look at it this way. Abortion, even a few years ago, was against the law. You couldn't kill a child even if before they were born. It's still against most religions. But see, we've come across this and we've warmed up to the idea that it'd rather a child not live a life than live a horrible life, maybe not have any food and maybe die even young from malnourishing or etc. So we might warm up to the idea, we might not, who knows, we'll see. But in the end, it's our life, it should be our death.